Yes, we did.
Is it working?
Sorry, it's recording now, but of course you've just lost the host and lost the sharing, so I'll have to swap you back again.
That's okay. Okay, so does that mean
Have to share again.
it's still okay? Let's hope the blue button means okay. All right. Have I got sharing capability now?
I can see you, but we lost
Okay,
the
great.
board.
That's okay. I will share now. So can we all see it again? Sorry about this.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can see it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Oh, I can hear myself. That's not good. Okay, sorry. So yeah, very sorry, Emily, for interrupting that. Please, so you had someone on the mission, and it was only the second to last day that you found out that somebody, you found out that somebody was stealing well before this, but just not who it was.
Correct. Yeah, we knew that there was an anomaly in the inventory. We couldn't figure out. We thought maybe our calculations were just, with the chaos of everything, and we just thought maybe we just had a lapse in error of counting and things like that. So we did a lot of recalibrating of the inventory every weekend, and there were some other behaviors that we noticed that led us to that conclusion. That included late night steaming hot showers that lasted 15 minutes plus, and use of electricity during the night after cloudy days and things like that. So a big case for the psychological aspect, but it's definitely a lot of things that should be considered when talking about the life support systems as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I guess sort of the data gathering is quite important to try to understand, sort of, because you could back out sort of information like that if you knew who was where when. So something that we learned just a half an hour ago through the Lunares Research Station tour, which has been recorded and we'll post online, is that they monitor a large, almost every module except the hygiene module for obvious reasons, and therefore, at least post mission, but probably every day, you can know sort of who's been where. So if there's been some anomalous activity, you could find out mid mission, hopefully, during they have daily sort of either wash ups or briefings in the morning. So wow, that's really interesting. So yeah, you found.
Yeah, I would say that again, I think a lot of this is really, really based on the mission objectives, because I know that, the majority of missions at high seas specifically, because that's where I was for the specific mission. I know that a lot of missions at high seas have a lot of accessibility to monitoring water and electricity and, things like that. Cameras that are not necessarily operating as they should oftentimes. But this one specifically, we are very, very limited to what we were allowed to know as crew members. And so I think that's just a different perspective, is just understanding, what the research objectives are. This one specifically was for team cohesion and human performance. So.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. That's really interesting. I've sort of taken a note of that and sort of understanding it. It's good science, I suppose, because if your mission was entirely about the team cohesion and you found out exactly an issue that went wrong with that, then it's obviously it's all good learning. Has anyone else got any sort of interesting experiences or best practices or lessons learned from basically food handling?
I actually have one more point about food handling. If nobody else has something, I don't want to hijack the conversation. Something that was really interesting during our mission is actually that same one, was we had someone who had a tree nut allergy. And then we had one person who was vegan. And then we had someone else who had just, and actually all three of those people were not dairy consumers. So they did not taken like any kind of dairy products, they were dairy free. And so whenever we did our meals, we essentially ended up cooking basically twice for every meal. And so we really had to be methodical of when we were using the stove and how much water we were using. And, you know, cooking the vegan / dairy free food first, and then cooking the other food just to kind of avoid cross contamination and things like that. And so when you think about food production, you have to think about, you know, the different allergy concerns or, you know, food preferences. And depending on the mission, again, different food preferences may or may not be, you know, catered to. But of course, allergies are something that definitely need to be taken into consideration for things like that.
Excellent, thanks for sharing. So I guess that comes down to sort of planning ahead. You know, you have to know in advance all of these dietary requirements and plan your sort of supplies accordingly. Right. Okay, that's really interesting. What was you said there was a tree nut allergy, a vegan, and you said three of the three were non-dairy. Who was the third? What was the third allergy or requirement?
So it was just 3 people were all dairy free. One of those was also the nut allergy.
And then another
one
was
of them
vegan.
was the vegan, and the other. That sounds like the start of a really bad joke, actually.
Excellent.
But yes.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. That's really good stuff. So, I'm going to sort of cycle back to the drinking water sort of handling and such. So did you learn anything in high seas about drinking water as well? Was there any difficulty in supply? Was it something that you limited as well? Or was it?
For drinking, actually, no. We went ahead and kind of as a crew, we decided, you know, we're going to drink as much water as we need to. From the perspective of just making sure that we were staying hydrated. Our EVA activities and our exercise activities were pretty packed and scheduled on a daily basis. So we just wanted to make sure that we were at least properly hydrated. So
was it all measured?
Drinking water. Oh, go ahead.
Was it all measured? Sorry.
No, it was not measured, not for drinking.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. I guess again, it comes down to what you're doing in the mission.
Yeah, if I may add a comment, in Amade, the water intake was also closely monitored by the medical team of the mission, especially as the analog astronauts were performing really a strenuous task in spacesuits weighing 50 kilo in the hot desert. So the doctors always gave input, hey, you have to drink another ½ liter and you have to drink another liter there. So but they actually monitored that people would drink enough. But what I generally want to say, we do a lot of research what astronauts will eat in space. We do very little research on what astronauts will drink in space. I mean, if we go on long-term missions, nobody can convince me that people will just be happy drinking only water for months and months and months. We have to consider that they sometimes want to have some flavor in their drinks, and the people are used to drinking coffee and tea. And how do we handle this in space? We know that fizzy drinks are not a good idea in space. And then there is always the question: will we allow, for example, to drink alcohol in space? And I don't think there is enough research yet on drinking, not anywhere near as much as on eating.
That's really interesting. I'm going to take note of that as a well, it's a lesson learned. It's something to bring to the community and say, hey, why aren't we researching this? So yeah, we're taking note of that. That's a good point. I mean, yeah, it's funny, you know, let's go down the route of stereotypes and say that, you know, there are a lot of youthful analog astronauts who are probably used to drinking more than just water over a 2-week period, so yeah, or a month, as in the case of high seas. That's really important. I think that's very interesting. Thank you. Sorry, forgive me scribbling on some paper right now. Great. So yeah, plenty of research on food, not enough on water.
Drinks generally, fluid intake.
Yes, yeah, fluid intake.
You're volunteering for the drink survey then?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Do more research on that.
That's curious because, of course, there's at the very least coffee on the ISS. Is there no coffee in analog stations?
Again, I guess it's back to the maximum top needs of the mission, and depends on your energy inputs. If you've got a very high fidelity or high end, well funded hab, then you probably can have the power things for it, for coffee pots and kettles and things like that. Whereas if it's limited and you're trying to do maybe solar only or a limited amount of off-grid electricity, something like a kettle would be a luxury and may not be the mission main objective.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, kettles are very high power devices, at least in the UK.
But as we're hearing, it's along with various other things that's been quite interesting from this morning as well as just now, that psychological aspect and the team dynamic and getting on and everything else. If people are going to go stir crazy, not having any coffee for, you know, what could be weeks, months, you know, year on end for a long mission, we've got to think about that.
There is a coffee machine on the ISS.
Yeah.
And there is vodka. We know
Is there
that.
vodka? Amazing.
Is that for the Russian contingent?
Yeah, one company has actually produced vodka in this plastic kind of plastic bags, especially for space.
Actually, I went to IAC and there was a company there that had like the first champagne drinking glass to be used on the ISS. I don't know if it's actually been made and used yet, but it was certainly a talking point. That was good fun.
We will send wine to space.
Yeah,
From Chile. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe one thing about food research is that, like I was talking at ISS with a few companies, and the thing they said is that, okay, yes, we're making this food production for space, but we're not making any profitable income. So we are pushed to apply this to Earth. So like showing how food research or analog mission can then be applied for problems like that we can solve now here on Earth is gonna make more credibility, and maybe it's gonna bring some more fundings as well.
Great point. So if I've understood that correctly, what you're saying is analog missions are a good way of sort of demonstrating the earthly or terrestrial value of sort of in space products.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Great, thanks. I'll note that down. Okay. Oh, what's this you've shared, Karen? What's the?
I was on mute. It's a photo of the vodka, kind of.
Excellent.
Not a bottle. It's like a plastic drinking device for the ISS.
Fantastic.
I've heard of booze cruises, but not in space.
Sorry, forgive the scribbling. Right, I'm just looking at the other sections we've got. So we've got drinking water, we've got food, we've got toilet. So if there's any nasty, horrible lessons learned or best practices on those things, we can all talk about it. We're all friends.
Yeah, I'm sure it's usually the top subject.
Yeah, yeah. It was good to see that. So one thing that Leszek shared from Lunares was that it actually benefited the crew to shower more to enable the grey water flush in the toilet. Basically, the limitation was more on the toilet than the shower, which is quite interesting. So if you shower more, you strangely save more effectively. You use a higher proportion of grey water. So in essence, I think what that's saying is showering is almost free if you count the grey water flush, because otherwise you're just wasting clean water flushing a toilet, which is really unfortunate.
Do they not recycle the toilet flush to become like secondary grey water or filtered or whatever you call it? So you're not using fresh every time?
No, not to my knowledge. They have a single grey water recycling loop, which takes your shower and sort of washed hands water, which then enables that. So that's used as grey water for flush. I don't know what the extra grey water uses are, but it's probably just that. Yeah, I'm not certain. I'm not a Lunares expert, but that's what it sounded like.
Question for another day, or a supplementary question after the conference to say how is that handled, or for all the other analog missions around. It'd be interesting to see what people use and don't use, what systems, processes, how much recycling, how much grey water, how much totally fresh. Again, part of it will be depend on the mission aims. If you're not looking at the water side and you've got main supply or something, because it's not simulating that aspect. But it'd be good to, there's another area that's good to share, dare I say. Flush with success.
Okay, so there's a section here that's very, very broad. Section 2 is welfare, and I suppose that's entirely up to sort of interpretation. But looking at the Miro board, I assume that's hygiene, because we've got drink, toilet, clean, and welfare. So cleaning is you know, I don't know if you interpret cleaning as cleaning humans or cleaning objects. I
think Manuel said it was all the objects like the cutlery in place, yeah, if they are being cleaned.
Which therefore means that welfare is your hygiene, personal hygiene
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So a lesson from Lunares is that based on how good your filtration system is for the grey water recycling, what they had is a stipulation that the hand soaps and such were all sort of, he used the word natural, but effectively, I guess, mild and free of a significant amount of detergent. So, or any detergent for that matter, which meant that it was suitable for grey water recycling, which I found quite interesting. So that's on the welfare side, mild sort of soaps and stuff.
That's interesting. It'd be interesting to see if that's universal or what variety we get across the different hubs around the world.
Yeah, I mean, so far, so we got Karen and we got Emily on the call now, and it seems like neither of those are water recycling loops as such. So is that true? I know, Emily, you said that it's fresh, unlimited clean water for high seas. Is that true as well for Amity?
I'm not sure if Emily's still on. Celine's on.
I'm still here. So, I mean, unlimited drinking water, yes, but for hygiene, it was very different. For hygiene, we were limited to a 1 gallon bucket shower.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent.
And that's kind of one of the reasons that was kind of like a crew decision that we made, because we all unanimously agreed that staying hydrated during our activities was more important, and the bucket showers seem to get the job done, and in conjunction with hygiene wipes. So
Yeah, apart from obviously one person who took their
yeah, right.
midnight
And then
steaming showers.
if you're familiar with high seas, there are no flushing mechanisms at high seas. So
Fair enough. Did you have to do any recycling, should we say?
recycling of the water.
Yeah. Or how to put this more delicately in your
Composting.
yes.
No, we did. I mean, we took turns on handling the compost toilet. You know, one massive complaint that I'm sure anyone at high seas is familiar with is the fact that women have to pee in a urinal. So that is, you know, when you have to use the restroom in the middle of the night and it's very dark and you're halfway awake, balancing one foot on the edge of a shower and the other foot on a bucket is not ideal. So
Yeah, gosh. That sounds awful. Right, I'll take that. Is that something that's being looked to be changed in high seas or not?
hold on, my headphones are dying.
No worries.
You would have thought going for a standard, dare I say it, toilet, pan or whatever would cover both genders, but and be easier for both, but they must have decided otherwise.
Indeed. Okay.
Can you guys?
We just heard you say, "Can you guys?" but then it cut out.
Or was it see you guys?
No, that's fine. Any other experiences here with like personal hygiene? Any sort of things that you found worked really well, or things that could have definitely been done better? Anything missing apart from a functioning toilet?
Like in ATC, the other Polish sites, we used clean wipes like for body, like the one that you clean the baby with, because we also had like this challenge, like they were calculating the mission that would use the less amount of water to shower, because anyway, what you could do, you fill in the buckets and then you throw the water on yourself, because there was no running water anyway for shower, just on the sink.
Okay.
Yeah, but like the good thing was that there was a toilet. Like the bad thing is that, so the habitat has maximum 6 people and they need to share the same toilet, but at least there is like another small room, which is kind of a storage-ish, where you basically can clean yourself over there with the cleaning wipes. So the one is like kind of separates and also gives you like a little bit of privacy, which is one of the biggest thing, I think, for analog missions, like at least for hygiene purposes, especially like when getting a shower, having your own privacy, I think is one of the most important things. And I mean, our mission, it was like 10 days. So I didn't mind cleaning myself with cleaning wipes. And like for the hair, we bought these, I don't know the name. It's like, it's a spray that cleans your hair.
Dry shampoo?
Yeah, dry shampoo. Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't the best thing ever, but it worked. Yeah, and then like, I don't know, for brushing teeth, we either did it in the small bathroom or in the kitchen. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I feel like the most critical thing is like privacy. Yeah,
okay, that's interesting.
I don't know, our habitat was really smelly. So I think our sweat just amalgamated and mixed really well with the smell of the house already.
Gosh, fair enough. I've got a question for you then, Celine, which is around the drinking water. did you monitor the water usage, and or did you limit the use of clean water?
Yeah. So for us, we monitored how much water we were drinking, and what we did, because it doesn't have kind of a closed loop system, the habitat, at least just yet. So we went to the shopping before the mission, and we bought water bottles. Like I think we bought, I think it was 1 or 2 more than we should have used in 10 days. So it's like it kind of was rationated, but the other option that we had, it was to use the sink water.
Yeah.
But if we would have drink it, we had to boil it, wait to cool down. So I don't think we did it because we were really good with the water. But other missions, what they did during the night, they boiled the water, they let it rest, and the following day was like room temperature, and they could drink it.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And did you monitor the amount of, well, I know it wasn't on your mission, but you know, if that is stringently monitored as well, the boiled sink water?
We didn't monitor it.
Okay.
But like we would write down the amount of, like if we would have drink a cup of tea,
yeah,
we would write down that water into our intake. We didn't monitor the water we used to cook.
Sure. That's
the thing.
Okay, that's interesting. Did you find any issues with, so you went ahead and bought a supply of water. Did you run out? Did you find that you were getting close to running out? Did you how to put this, did any of you basically suffer dehydration in order to not run out of water? Anything like that?
No, we didn't suffer of dehydration. We actually kind of reminded people to drink more because we could see their intake of water in the board.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ran out, and we weren't worried about it because we knew worst comes worst. We have the sink water that would have just boiled the night before and then drink. So for us, it wasn't a problem. Like the main problem, it was that some people weren't drinking enough water during the day.
Okay, that's great. Sorry, just scribbling notes again.
Yeah.
Okay. On the food side, were there any interesting things in ATC around food handling? I don't know if I think you might have just joined after Emily was talking about the
I heard.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so for us, so what we do, we have a choice. We either have a multi-diet or a vegetarian diet. Our group picked the vegetarian diet, and we didn't have anyone with any specific allergy. So what we did the same day in the morning, we went to a grocery shop, and in an hour, we picked everything that was on the list. And during the mission, the theme that wasn't on the mission that some of us suffered a little bit, it was coffee. Because we've been told we wouldn't have coffee. So we had just tea, which was okay. But basically what you buy in the morning or before like your mission start is what you have for the entire mission. And then it's like, I think we had so we had kind of a day-to-day menu, but we could play with ingredients. So for example, I think so a crew, like the crew before us left like half of Nutella in the habitat. So for a snack, sometimes we had some bread and Nutella, but yeah, like the bread we had to ration it because it wasn't enough for the entire duration if we would have eaten it like for like 3 times a day, for example.
Sure. So the type of food that you consumed was all, pretty open. You were just allowed to have anything.
It was everything that was on the list that they provided us before. So when we did the grocery, we had to buy just whatever was on the list. For example, we have a lot of dehydrated food, but also like pasta because it was easy to store and to cook. We didn't buy that much vegetables, for example, because in 10 days, basically you just eat them for the first 2 days, then they might go rotten. And that was the problem. Like if you had smelly food or rotten food in the habitat. But yeah, basically they give you the list and you have to survive with whatever quantity and things they allow you to buy.
Excellent. So is the list provided by effectively ATC have
Yes.
or in-house dietitians or something, and they made sure that the macros were...
I think they did consult a dietitian, like a nutritionist, before like setting up everything, and I think they've been keeping the kind of the same list since then. But yeah, like they consulted a nutritionist before doing the list, especially I think for the vegetarian list, to make sure that we have proteins and all the other intakes.
Did ATC modify the list based on, for example, candidate weight and even gender? I mean, obviously, it's mostly weight dependent.
They didn't. I know, like in another mission, I think happened 1 year before mine, they had a problem because there was a guy that was quite big in weight, and he really did suffer, like the thing to ration every single meal. And this one, it really impacted how he acted and his personality in the mission, because he had a less food intake and less how do you say like freedom to eat whatever you wanted.
Sure, that's really interesting. Actually, on that thread, Karen, being from one of the highest fidelity analog astronaut missions, with the dietary requirements, are they personalized to individual crew members? This is something I'm sort of quite interested in.
Yes. Again, the medics and a nutritionist is of course involved in creating the meals and making sure they have the necessary intake in nutritions and also in calories, because the EVAs are very hard work. It's not a space walk, it's space work. As I like to say, nobody's walking around there. Everybody has a purpose, and it is calculated before the mission, and then whenever needed, it's adjusted to the situation, to the person, and so on. So in the Amadee, there was an option to leave some supplies outside the airlock. There was no contact person to person, but somebody could deliver something to the airlock, and in the next EVA, people could actually get it.
Okay.
In case there was something missing, but if I remember correctly, we did not really deliver more food. So what has to be considered, what we found out, but not only in this Amadee mission, also earlier, is actually the work around the food. Somebody has to be assigned to cook, somebody has to be assigned to wash the dishes, somebody has to be assigned to clean the table. And they actually preferred that someone from flight planning did assign these people rather than agreeing among themselves.
That's really interesting. I'm definitely writing that one down.
Yeah. And again, as a psychologist speaking now, yeah, I mean, we do these simulations for a couple of weeks, and everybody should be able to pull themselves together for a few weeks and to eat like very healthy, very nutritious food. But at the end, we want pizza and chocolate. Yeah, we need comfort food as well. And we have to also consider that, especially I'm thinking of a mission to Mars where people will be away for 1.5 years. If they only eat salad, as healthy as it might be, I cannot imagine them being very happy.
Indeed.
There is a medical component to it, a nutritional component, but there is also a lot of psychological considerations going into food. And especially since food brings all the world together. Yeah, when we have a party, it's like everyone gathers in the kitchen in the end. Yeah, so
Agreed.
it's all around food, and food is eating is more than the intake of food. It's kind of a social ritual that also can bind the group together. And we should not only plan it from an absolutely technical point of view, you know, calorie counting and vitamin counting, but we should also consider all the psychological aspects around it.
That's great. Thanks for that. Has there been any experience on that? I mean, especially, so I'm going to lean on you again, Emily. In high seas, were you, because it was a longer duration mission than is sort of most common, did you have comfort foods, say, halfway through the mission? Did you have anything like that to keep morale high?
We did actually. We made like this sort of, well, it was our best attempt to make brownies, but it ended up turning into like this chocolate frosting. It was almost like a fudge, but it was a lot thinner than fudge. So it was just kind of like a frosting, and it was something that we look forward to. I think we did it like twice a week, but we did that, you know, twice a week after certain milestones in our research, and we all looked forward to that.
I remember the pictures you posted of that.
On that thread, we heard yesterday from the most recent Lunares crew that they had to make a cake. It was one of the astronauts' birthdays during their mission, so they made a sort of chocolate pancake recipe to celebrate with. I think they said almost no sugar and no eggs. So I think they ended up making like some kind of stacked pancake cake, which is, yeah, it's great to hear that, you know, this is something that sort of binds your team together. That's great. Thanks for sharing. Okay, I'm just looking at the various categories here. Okay, here's a good one: hydro and aeroponics. Have any of your missions, so we've got ATC, we've got Amity, and we've got high seas on the line. Did any of you do any of the sort of hydro, aero, or aquaponics setups in your missions? Did you have any experience of running these facilities at all?
I can really only speak for Habitat Marte here. There are permanent hydroponics and aquaponics. So it doesn't 100% feed the crews, but it's of course also in the research stage. but they can harvest some plant food, and they can eat some fish that they are growing there. But again, it's a permanent habitat, and it's permanently maintained. And it's been maintained for years already.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's really interesting. So do you have a sort of rough figure for sort of what percentage of the diet was met by the hydro and aquaponics facilities?
Not really. Let me ask.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out. I mean, it's just more of a personal curiosity than anything, I guess. But good to know. You know, one of the sort of most important features here is that it really does need to be a permanent and permanently stewarded facility to enable this, because it's longer term than a 2-week mission. You know, I don't suppose you can sort of just grab an off-the-shelf hydro or aquaponics facility, dump it for 2 weeks, and hope for the best. You know, these biological mechanisms take a long time to come good. So, okay, good to know. I suppose then by default, this wasn't going on high seas.
Sorry, I had to step away for just a quick second. I didn't catch that.
No,
What was that?
Okay, no, that's absolutely fine. I was just asking, with high seas, was there any sort of hydro, aqua, or aeroponics facility? Did you do any sort of crop growth, anything like that, to feed your crew, or was it 100% supply based?
No, we did not.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, this is the thing. This is why we have a variety of facilities, right? We're hopefully, you know, testing different things, doing new research. So, okay, great. Celine, with ATC, was there anything there?
So we had this really small aquaponic. It had some golden fishes in it, so we had to take care of it. But the one, it was really like a project that was that was started the year before, but another mission, and basically when they started it, they didn't finish it, but it kept like crews after the initial crew, they improve it every kind of for every mission. And yeah, 1 year after it was like functioning, we had some grass growing over there, and no, it was good because like we had to take care of the fishes, which were always there, so it was kind of a nice interaction to have like inside the habitat.
Yeah.
So I just got the figures from Habitat Marte. So the astronauts have between 10 and 30% they can eat from their own production. They can feed themselves from their own production. I guess it depends a bit on the season. I've asked Giulio to join us here. So from Habitat Marte, he might come within the next minutes.
Okay, amazing. That'd be good to hear more about that topic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. That's a really good number, actually. That's quite impressive. Great. Okay, so I'm just looking at the topics. So we had we've mostly covered hygiene. In fact, I'm looking on the sheets, and hygiene and welfare are listed as separate. But what we'll do is instead treat one of these as clean. So with washing dishes and everything, that sounds like or washing dishes, washing clothes, you know, general sort of equipment cleaning, these kind of things. Did anyone find it was a difficult set of processes? Did you limit on water for this? Was it just awkward? Any lessons learned? Any best practices?
So in my habitat, we had, at least for our mission, we made a schedule, which was who was cooking, who was cleaning for basically the entire 10 days we were there. And I don't remember like exactly how we made it, but like it worked perfectly. I think like it was, so we were always in paired, and we were 6. So I think it was one day, one pair was doing the cooking and the cleaning for lunch, dinner, and breakfast, and the next day was another pair, and so on. And for us, it worked really, really well. Like we never came into any conflict. But I know other crews, they didn't have this schedule. And like the good thing about us, we were always eating together. So it was really great to also like connect and talk with each other. And other crews, they told us that everyone was doing their own meal and cleaning after themselves sometimes no. So that's where conflict could also come into play. But cleaning, we didn't really have a schedule for cleaning, but like if we saw that after lunch or dinner the floor was quite dirty, we would just clean. So for that one, I think it's like a lot about team dynamics as well, on how you take care of the base. Like we really enjoyed it, so we really wanted to take care of it, and we did our part without being kind of forced by a schedule or something like that.
It's yeah, in Yamade, we planned the astronauts' activities in 15-minute slots because we had so many experiments to run. And it was also unfortunately not possible to let them have meals together because there were some experiments that needed to be run at different times. So as a flight planner, I was always happy for every day where nobody had to eat alone. So it again, it depends on the experiments. And yeah, welcome Julio Resende from Habitat Marte. He's just joined us.
Thanks for joining. Basically,
thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming along. Basically, just before you joined, we were talking around sort of hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics, and just trying to learn a bit more about best practices, lessons learned, things that went really well, things that didn't go so well. Habitat Marte is one of those facilities with a really good aquaponics setup and permanent stewards to look after it. So it'd be really great to hear from you around the facility, and if after doing many missions you've learned anything, you had to make some serious changes, did anything go drastically wrong, these kind of interesting experiences that you'd like to share.
Yes, it's possible I comment. One of the most challenging things is try to build a self-controlling habitat. A closed system is not something cheap. It's necessary a lot of investments because it's necessary some technologies like air conditioning, also air circulation, a lot of sensors and LED lighting. And this is one of the challenging things because it's difficult to do this activity without some funding. And we need to look these possibilities seriously to do something with more fidelity in terms of try to simulate a closed system. One station that's trying to do this is the Arizona station that they are building there, connected to Biosphere 2, and they are doing something related with it with great seriousness. And we are also here in Brazil. We are preparing a project to a public call to support our research. And probably if you have success in this process, will be receiving a container to develop some experiments in a container with sensors, lighting, air conditioning, and air circulation. And this is one of the most interesting things to think. But we are doing in the next 1 month, we will be doing very big improvements in our facilities, in our greenhouse, and also in our facade and something like this, and have some news until the end of the year. But thanks.
Am I now unmuted? Yeah, sorry, I was talking to Matt, trying to go, work out why that didn't work. Yes, thank you, Julia. Just sort of frantically scrolling these notes. That's fantastic. Thanks for those lessons. That's really interesting, and I hope that the new developments come online and get published, and we all see the amazing work that you guys are doing. So thanks for sharing. That's really great. So you're planning some upgrades as we speak. Great. On that thread, Julia, do you have any experience in sort of the water loop as well? So how do you handle the amount of drinking water that you give your crews? Do you do grey water recycling, this kind of practice to minimize that water usage per mission, or anything along those lines?
Our reclaimed water is used for agriculture. It's not for, because as we have like a plantation around 100 meters of cultivated area in our greenhouse, the water, reclaimed water is used for the plant's growth.
That's amazing. Also, do you have to process it?
Yeah, it's also based in some social innovations that would be applied to rural communities, because in this part of Brazil, in the semi-arid area in Brazil, we have scarcity of water, and sometimes some housings they are generating sewage, and the sewage is used is passing from some processes and transforming in water to be used in agriculture. In our case, is try to bring some solutions, also trying to dialogue with space exploration, but also trying to bring some learnings to local communities. This is one of our challenge. Yes.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
So we've actually covered quite a lot of ground already, which is really good. Looking at cleaning. So
also,
go ahead.
We are with open calls for missions. Also, will be happening one mission in November. This mission in November will be very interesting because we'll be working in the greenhouse, in some improvements in the greenhouse. And also just have one participant from Israel. And if you have more people interested to come to Brazil, everybody are welcome. And will be a great moment here. It's supposed to be starting from November 15th to 21st or 22nd.
Sorry, just navigating my computer screen with a mouse. I just dropped sharing the screen accidentally. That's really good news. Did you say that's ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, or ESRO, the European?
It's Ophir from Israel. I
oh, sorry.
know
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the name of his institution, but when you are looking more participants for this mission too.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. I'm just going to reshare my screen because I dropped it. Just bear with me a moment. Okay, this one. Go. Is that sharing the mirror board again? Yeah. Good. Sorry about that. Okay. That's really interesting. Thank you. Okay, so systems. Sorry, I'm just looking through our notes. Did you have any interesting observations on the sort of what you're saying about how in the local communities there's recycling of sewage? Is that also the case for Habitat Mate? With your sort of hygiene facilities, your toilets? Are there any? How does that facility work? Have you got a composting toilet? Is it full water system?
Yeah, we are in our case, we have a septic tank for the basin for the toilet, sorry. But we are, in this case, we are recycling the gray water, the water from the sinks and from the shower in our case. But for the toilet, we need something more complex, but is under our radar to identify some implementations for the next semester. Probably we'll be also recycling the toilet. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry, I am paying attention. I'm just scrolling a bunch of notes.
I understand.
Because basically, you weren't here at the other workshop, presumably because it was a ridiculous hour for you. But what we do at the end of the workshop round, we will then go back into the main room and present each track's findings to each other, because we've got sort of 3 or 4 workshops happening in parallel on the same topic, just to keep the audience number reasonably small. So yeah, that's why I'm scrolling a bunch of notes, and Matt is next to me writing on the mirror board. So thanks.
Yes, also related to water circulation, we in the hydroponic system, we have the water circulation because where the fish are created, the feces from the fish lets the water nutritive for the plants. In the hydroponics, you have water circulations for the plants. Yes, it's very interesting system, also a closed system too. And we are not installed yet hydroponic, but it's also in our considerations for the next month too. And we have some great challenge to do. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So you're looking at a potential hydroponic facility. Would that be in addition to the aquaponic, or would it be a replacement?
Yeah, not replacement, but we have both in operation also to compare some results, like how the plants are growing, also the productivity, and some ideas like this.
Excellent. That's a really good piece of research. I like that.
Yeah. Also, something interesting is consider some hybrid solutions also using regolith. Also the simulated regolith would be interesting too, because also one possibility is the use of water, and the second possibility is consider the use of the soil, and try to see possible results, because in Brazil, close to Habitat Mate, we present an algae regolith that would be useful for research too.
That's great. How just sort of thinking about Martian soil for a second, or regolith rather, do you put in additives in the Brazilian soil to sort of match the Martian content? The thing that's going through my head right now is perchlorates. Is there some measurement there? Because I'm assuming that would be very sort of detrimental to plant growth. Well, I don't know, because I'm not a horticulturalist of any kind.
We are collecting this analog soil in a volcano close to Habitat Mate, and Also, we are doing, we have a group researching, collaborating with us. Also, we had a meeting this week, and they are looking different deposits, geologic deposits in the state. And probably we will have more data very soon about all the possible places that we present some possible knowledge sites, geological sites. And this would be very interesting. Also, but the researchers are developing the experiments, the collection right now, probably next week, and we're waiting anxiously the results about these possible knowledge sites, geological sites, and probably we have some news in the next weeks.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing again. Excellent. So I don't know if you can see on the mirror board here, but we're getting quite good at covering most of this. So looking around, we've gone into quite some depth around the water management system, drinking, welfare, toilet cleaning. We've spoken quite a lot about food production, sort of the hydroponic and aquaponic loops. Not sure about aeroponic, but if no one's got any experience or knowledge on it, then so be it. We'll look to the other teams to share their knowledge on that. Spoken around waste management and costs as well. I mean, yeah, Julio, you said already that the cost of a closed loop system is staggeringly expensive and difficult to sort of implement. I'm assuming that's also, you know, coming down to what research wants to be done in each facility, which is always the go-to. So let's talk for a second then about energy, because something that's actually, I don't think it's covered in my notes here, but it's very, very important, is the sort of energy system. So how do you supply all of the power for, you know, lighting, cooking? Every single thing that we do requires energy. So what systems have we got in place to manage our energy, both in terms of generation, but also monitoring usage and these kind of things? Do we do any sort of energy recovery, like, I don't know, waste heat recovery, or yeah, these sorts of ideas? So do you want to go ahead with Habitat Mate first, Julio?
Yeah, we have solar panels in Habitat Mate. In this case, we are self-sustaining in terms of energy. This is very good. Also, we are, but also the energy is connected to the energy supply, to the company, energy company, and also the supergravity of the energy generated is delivered to the energy company, local company. And this is also good because our bills, energy bills, has almost only the just subscription fee, and this is good for us in terms of economic sustainability too, because it becomes more efficient, our operation, because of it. It's not very costly. We had the investment in the solar panels, but now is very good. Yeah. Also, we are operating a second location. It's the lava cave habitat. Is 400 meters from Habitat Mate. It's a rock formation that looks like the Millennium Falcon ship, and look from above. And there is not supplied by energy yet, and we are looking the possibility to have like solar panels there to charge a battery and use the the lava cave habitat is very interesting place, because it's like a new frontier in terms of space exploration in our location. We will have like a part of a crew in the main habitat, in Habitat Mate, or other part of the crew in lava cave, 400 meters, and having communications and happening different activities in terms of protocols. And we are there. We are considering how we will supply energy there, solar panels or energy connection. You need to see the best possibilities for it.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks. So out of with your energy, do you monitor the usage of your energy? Do you check out, you know, who's using what for what applications?
We have an app operating. This app is collecting the data and also how much energy is used. Also during the clouds days, we can see like the lower performance in terms of energy generation. And it's also that sometimes we need to restart the system. And also part of our crews, they are doing some protocols related to energy supply. It's very interesting in terms of maintenance. Also now is like 6 months that we installed the solar panels, and one of our new protocols like to clean the solar panels. And we imagine this would be also a protocol for Mars, because with the dust storms there, they need to clean up the solar panels to have more efficient terms of energy generation.
Excellent. Oh, thanks for sharing. One last question then: is all of the energy electrical on the facility? So, for example, you don't need a gas supply for cooking or anything like that.
Yeah. Also, the gas is supplied by in a specific device, but with the installation of the system of also treatment of the toilet, we have like the gas from the composting system, and this will also generate the gas for the oven, and this would be interesting for the very close future, I believe.
Great. Yeah. Thanks for that. That's really interesting. Okay. Hey.
I was just thinking if you could jump on the call and listen to.
Yeah. If you want to. Sorry, we've got Manuel has just joined us from Astroland.
You just connect your headphones and then Julio is on the
Yeah.
call. Julio's on the call. Come and see.
Great. Okay.
Wait, you're not here. How are you doing? Long time no see. Okay, so is there any?
I can hear you. But you can hear really good. Okay. It's working. You can hear that well. Okay.
No, I can't.
Oh, with Passion, you cannot.
Oh, the others are muted.
Right.
Okay. No.
Is actually is anyone talking? Sorry, no, nobody's talking. No, just me. No.
Not yet. Hi, Julio. It's Ophir from Israel.
Hello. I mentioned you about our mission during next November. I was inviting the participants to come. Everybody are welcome to our mission, and try to catch more people travel to Brazil next month.
Yes. So I'm now preparing for it.
Yeah, very good.
So I don't know if you want to catch us up on everything.
Yeah, so I'll speak to that because otherwise there's been
Okay, maybe turn it to.
No, it's okay. Everyone can see me.
Oh, okay, but the microphone speaks better from here.
I could hear myself.
All right, okay.
So,
you have everything under control.
Basically, we've been going through all of the different topics.
Right.
Covered quite a lot of ground as we last time. And the last one that we're actually dealing with at the moment is energy. Now, I don't know if everyone confused notes or anything, but I didn't see energy on one of the slides.
No, it was just there, no, like everything energy related to optimizing processes, something like that. Sorry.
So we're taking some interesting notes around that. We just spoke to Julio around the sort of energy in lifetime over the practically self-sustaining solar panels. And they're actually connected to the grid, probably giving more energy back to the grid
Yeah, that's good. So generating instead of
Yeah.
consuming. That's good. We're thinking
So-
about that in the group as well.
So he said that the only payment they pay for the energy bill is actually just the sort of standing rate, the base subscription. So that's great. We haven't covered the other missions, so we've actually got representation from. Well, we had representation from High Seas, but was the drop off the call. We've got Audi 20, Karen here, Celine from ATC. So we've got quite a few different missions.
Right.
Gathering sort of everyone's sort of experiences
Cool.
in the various parts of the sort of life cycle, so to speak. So I've scrolled loads of notes. I think that's been filling up a mirror board. And it was taking at least 20 minutes to catch up on everything.
Right.
So I
Well,
just wanted
don't
to
worry.
see prepared them up. I wanted to see if there was any particular questions, anything that I could like give an input to.
Yeah. So
Any particular questions or suggestions, or I don't know, any further ideas that can help us to improve this kind of middleboard or for further research in future workshops?
Is everybody too shy?
Don't want to talk to me.
So, oh no,
Oh.
okay, no, I'll mute myself.
Sharing the space.
yeah, no. So I can speak through them instead. Has anyone got any comments on anything that might be missing from the mirror course? Any interesting parts of the life cycle that we're not covering here? We've only covered, the water, energy, and food. So if there's something else, go ahead and say. I mean, we've not really covered team dynamics very much, which is a topic in here. Many of the experiences related to the other parts like food. Any comments and questions? No, everyone's too shy.
Nothing comes to mind.
Oh, Alan is saying something.
Alan was saying something? Alan, were you talking? Sorry.
I was saying nothing comes to mind, but you covered, I think, all the areas that most of us could think of at the moment. It's very good board and
Yes,
presentation.
Thank you very much. Well, also very interesting is just when it comes not to food production, but to produce green stuff for the mind, so as to speak, no, to feed the mind, to avoid that kind of emotional distress, like gardening. I'm talking about that maybe, and then from that we can use kind of to fertilize the proper crops and things like that. Have you implemented that in any of the missions that you've been taking part? Anyone can give us feedback on that? You know, the use of plants just for the sake of having another link to our beautiful planet rather than for consumption. Even though there are flowers that can be edible as well, but you know, I think to have some green stuff around us is very important as well. Take your mind away from things, and I don't know.
Yeah, I
In
think
any of
it's very important for our psychological well-being.
Sure.
Yeah, because we are very, as humans, we are very connected to nature. And I think it should also be reflected in the architecture of the habitat, to be using also maybe natural material or natural look-alike materials, natural forms, not just everything square. So
Sure.
that we keep the connection with nature also during our analog and later real missions.
Sure, definitely. Has anyone implemented this already? Some kind of in any analog station? We haven't done it so far.
No, but Habitat Marte has a swimming pool.
Well, that's something, no? Pues maybe how about algae and stuff like that? Because we can get a lot of benefits, you know, when it comes to medicine, food, I don't know. Having a swimming pool is definitely a beautiful asset.
It's relaxing, but it has other functions, of course. You can do training because, I mean, in weightlessness or microgravity or reduced gravity on Mars, if you swim, yeah, you have to work against the resistance of the water. Even if you have only 1/3 of the gravity on another planet, yeah, you would still train your muscles and bones very well. And then, of course, it's the purpose is also to train EVAs underwater. And speaking of underwater, Miroslav Rozložnik sends his best regards. He is just underwater in Slovakia, and he greets everybody in the workshop.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very thoughtful.
Yeah, also in Habitat Marti, the technical name is underwater. Underwater extravehicular activities facilities. It's not a regular swimming pool, and I operate in around 10 protocols in this facility, like some simulation, like actionate valve, also transport payload and collect space debris, and also also briefing techniques. And there's with the swimming pool was installed recently, we had a mission from Mexico, and we did the first simulations in this facility. And yes, and also each time also collecting data, and we'll do a presentation in next. Hello, Leslie. We have a presentation master site convention about the activities in this facility.
Cool, that's very interesting indeed. Excellent. So yeah, it's actually a big pool, so you can fit in there as to do reduced gravity kind of training.
Yeah. Yes, also, yes, it's also a different way to look like a regular swimming pool, because also as when we are kids, we are playing the swimming pool, but when looking with protocols, this becomes very different in terms of how we look like a swimming pool. And also, if we have opportunity all the time, we can present some data, some news that we have about the experiments that we are doing there. Also, you have almost prepared a presentation about. If you have time, I can share a little bit.
Yes, no, I suppose that'll be great. No, we have time somewhere. Yes, please do so. Thank you.
Okay, let me look. Okay. I have a presentation.
Can I not play this in the big screen so everyone else can see?
That would be great.
Yes. Do you mind if I let the other groups know so we can put you on the big screen and everyone can see your presentation? Sure, Julio. Can we do that if you don't mind?
I can share. Okay, just a moment.
No. Okay. Sorry, Julio.
Okay.
Do you mind if we put your presentation in the big screen so everyone else can see it? Because you're now talking with one of the groups, but there are 2 other groups in the other room.
I can
Can
share
we do that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's smashing. Thank you very much. Okay, just 1 sec. I'll see you the other room. Thanks a lot, eh?
Okay, good. And I just make you admin. So you should be able to share now, Julio. Don't worry, this is all going to be on the.
Yeah, I believe.
Okay, Julio, are you managing to connect?
Okay, I can share my screen.
Okay. Alejandro, what did you manage to connect the sound? Okay. Doesn't seem like it. Can you talk again, Julio?
The sound was straight away, apparently, no?
No, I went to the computer.
Yeah, but once you plug onto this, it comes to the thing, no?
Let's try. Julio, can you say something?
Yes, I'm listening. I can share my screen.
This is in German. I need you to modify the output.
Okay.
It's coming out from the computer, not from the HDMI.
Okay, so you want this? Is it this one?
There you go.
There you go. Okay, can you talk again?
Yes, are you listening?
Perfect. Okay. Okay. Can you share your screen then?
Yeah, I'm sharing now. Okay, just a moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He doesn't want to see you. Come on.
That's obvious. You can stand in front.
No. There you go.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Hi. Happy? I'd like to stay with you in person, but let's do it remotely. Yeah, I'll be talking about the underwater vehicular activity, the UVA. Also a quick introduction about Habitat Marte. We are based here in the corner of South America. And also the best way to arrive here is from Lisbon. We have direct flights from Lisbon to Natal. And also something interesting, we present two locations, Habitat Marte, and a second location called Lava Cave Habitat. This is our current facade, but we are doing a renovation in the next weeks of this current facade. Also, we can see the solar panels in front. And something important is the goal to operate a self-sustaining habitat. This is connected to smart sanitation, recycle the sewage, also closed food production in our greenhouse, solar energy, and also we are including the research about health and psychology, in also as a very important topic in terms of self-sustaining habitat. And one of our goals also is bring some solutions to local communities in Brazil and try to identify how we can deal with hunger and also responsibility in terms of food production. And some photos from our missions inside in intravehicular activities. Also in the extravehicular activities, something that I like to share is this rock formation called Lava Cave Habitat. It looks like the Millennium Falcon. And there's an area we are exploring. And something that I like to do is think about what would be interesting to do in a cave, why a cave is a good place to simulate Mars, what problems would occur to astronauts in a cave. It's some questions that we're trying to answer. And these facilities is not with our energy supply yet, and we are trying to improve the conditions to explore this area. And this is the infrastructure of the main station. In this case, we have the main facility, Habitat Marte, also the underwater extravehicular facilities, the solar panels, and also an auditorium to receive the visitors. And about specifically about the underwater extravehicular activity facility, this swim pool was installed recently. And in this case, happens some pre-protocols underwater extravehicular activities for preparing for this activity, the swim pool. Also, like some protocols very soon before the under extravehicular activity, like equipment preparation, provide utensils for each analog astronauts, verify if everybody presents adequate conditions to participate, and also if the equipments are available for the activities. Also, we are something very interesting. We are examining the EVA executed by NASA, and there is a document like a portal of many detailed information about what they are doing in the International Space Station. I can share the link for this book. It's very interesting. And we are examining what happens in International Space Station that would be reproduced in Habitat Marte facility in our underwater extravehicular facility. And in this case, like some activities that we are doing, like moving the payload. We have a rover inside the swimming pool called Roberto. Okay. And also the nanostats capture. In this case, we have a space receptacle unity, SRU. Also assessing the valves underwater simulation. Also collect the space debris. Also using pincers to collect the debris. And also the underwater extravehicular activity exposition is a stay like a 15 minutes underwater, listing like 4 songs. We put like a smartphone protected inside the swimming pool, like some music from some preference from the diver. And this person stay like 50 minutes or more time. We are also formulate this last protocol. Is also the time is also we are adapting in terms of minutes, and we are doing some. This is very recent. Also, the first crew testing this facility was during last September, and was a crew from Mexico, and also we are testing protocols, and in the end we have a survey, and they do evaluation about how was the specific activity in the swimming pool and what were the learnings. And here also we have more like showing the space receptacle unity, SRU, collecting the like space debris or CANSAT. This is the Roberto. It's like something to do some walking inside the swimming pool. And this is the valve underwater simulator that we need to do some movements with it. And also the underwater extravehicular activity exposition, we need to keep like 15 minutes, as I said, inside the water. And also it's very interesting to monitor the health condition of the Analogue. And after the activity, you have the post-underwater extravehicular activity that where we explain where the Analogue astronauts need to let the gloves and also take out the equipment, and also the other procedures before this moment. And also, also need to in the end see if you have some damage to the swimming pool. Yes, also there's some other ideas that we are considering for the next weeks. Yes, it's a little bit about what we are doing in terms of this new facility. we imagine that this would complement our activities. Something interesting, since we installed the swimming pool, the underwater extravehicular facility, we developed like 10 new protocols, and this is very good because now we have around 80 protocols operating in Habitat Marte. Our goal is have more than 100 protocols operating. And some of these protocols are also surveys, because in the end of some protocols, we apply some Google form to evaluate the results. Yes. Ian, everybody welcome. Would like to, Ophir will be with us next month. And if you are looking to identify more participants for our mission, and everybody are welcome. Also, I'd like to visit Lunares maybe next year. Let's see. Yes, and thanks. And if you have questions, I'm open for answer.
Anyone have questions? What is the criteria to be accepted? Is there a specific criteria for people to be accepted to become an analog astronaut? Did you hear it or not?
We are normally we're not having like a big competitions to take part of the missions. In this case, normally we have a very broader acceptance because also we just have kids participating with a accompanied person like a parent. And since like 10 years old until like postdocs, more than 70 years old. And we are not having, also you can, a participant can present like a academic background or not. In this case, we are very broad in terms of acceptance. And also it's very interesting when the participants have an idea in terms of a survey, research to do in our facilities. This is very good because a lot of protocols was established since we received some participants that bring new ideas in terms of protocols to operate in Habitat Marte. And yeah, and yes, and in this case, we have for this year, each day of mission is $135. In this case, our next mission in November will be $810. It's not expensive, but for the next year, we are imagining like a higher prices to participate. And also, actually, you're not receiving. We recently received for the second time the Brazilian Space Agency president. He visited us also to do a lecture for kids and in our facilities, in our auditorium. But we are not receiving like funding from the Brazilian Space Agency. And for it, because of it, we are very important the participation of international Analogue astronauts with us, and everybody are welcome.
Grace, mute yourself, please. Good. I don't know if anyone else has.
Yes, Julio. What kind of stuff you grow? Have you tried with algae?
Sorry, would you repeat the question?
What kind of crops do you grow? Have you tried with algae?
Okay, we have the cauliflower, also different kinds of pepper and tomatoes. The tomatoes are very important. What more? Yes, basil. Sometimes are more spices to prepare some meals, because sometimes we bring pasta like spaghetti from supermarkets, something like this, and you using the ingredients from greenhouse to complement the preparation of the pasta. And also, yes, and something that we need to deal with our facilities is normally some months we have like a high temperature, like 40 degrees, and this is very challenging for the crops, because not only for the crops, because it's demanding a lot of water to keep the energy, the temperature controlled, and keep health of the plants. And also recently we bought like a desalination system that we are imagine the installation for until the end of the year. And this was very good because we have a well in our in the property, but the well is salty. The water from this well is salty, and we with this salination machine will be good to have a potable water for the cultivation systems. But with last year was very difficult. Now we have until the end of this year we have water for our operations, and this is very good because we can produce more food for our astronauts. Yes, and also we have a very good spices to prepare the meals. It's very good because the people really likes to take the plants, you know, the vegetables in our garden, in our greenhouse, to add to the preparation of the meals. We really like this activity. Also, this was one of the presentations that we shared in International Astronautical Congress, was about this process of collect the food harvesting. And yes, it's very interesting, I believe.
How about the aquaponics you mentioned? Do you think they are more efficient than normal crops?
We cultivate a fish called tilapia. The tilapia is very resistant fish, because sometimes the tilapia can live like a potable water to salty water. Sometimes water with different temperatures is very resistant fish, and we are cultivating this fish in our system. Also, we just have some crews collecting the fish and prepare the fish for the meals. But normally we love the fish and not try to kill them, but you just have missions preparing the fish produced in our system, in our aquaponics system. Yes.
Right. One last question: have you tried with algae? With seaweed, cultivating
Sorry?
seaweed. Algae, cultivating seaweed.
Seedling?
Seaweed, algae.
Okay, I not.
Algae? Sorry, algae? Thank you.
Okay.
Algas.
Okay. No, we are not cultivating. Yeah, but not, because for algae we need a very controlled system to. If you not have like a very controlled greenhouse, becomes difficult to produce. And if you are, we imagine that we are participating in a competition. If you win this competition, we have like a funding for a container with a controlled system. In this controlled system with a controlled temperature, will be feasible to do some experiments with algae. Okay, but now it's a little more difficult. Yes, also something also challenging is the follow-up. How to be following these results constantly, because we need to have like a permanent crew looking this data generating and the generated data, and sometimes we don't have like a very close missions, like constant missions. This becomes more difficult to collect the data and see how is the algae or also our plantation is growing. And like during also, I saw that some analog stations in the world is not happening missions very close. and this led some biological experiments more harder to do. Would be very good also for Lunares and Habitat Marte. We have like one mission finishing, another mission starting, because one crew can pass the results to other crew, but when we are having not when this mission is not happening together connected, becomes more difficult. Yeah.
Great. So I think we could maybe wrap it off and each group present. So Patrick, if you want to present the online team came with, and then either Manuel or somebody else from the other big group.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks. Have I got all my notes?
Yeah, and I can this and move things.
Yes, go ahead.
Come on. Are you on the bits? There you go.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Can you all hear me online?
Yeah.
Yes,
Cool.
fine.
Excellent, thank you. So just presenting what the online group spoke around and found out. So I'll try to do this in order, but we actually changed our categories. Sorry? Yeah, we added and changed as we saw fit. So on the drinking water, so we had representation from high seas, from Amadi, from ATC and Habitat Marte. So we had quite a good sort of broad range of experience that we could lean on. So for drinking water, for example, high seas. But for high seas, they didn't limit nor measure the use of clean drinking water because it's just effectively not in their sort of set of experiments. They were looking at other things. So that's the virtue of analog missions, right? We're not all doing exactly the same experiment every time. With Amadi, water was strictly measured and actually effectively like medically imposed. The medical staff were monitoring the water intake of each astronaut and saying, hey, you need to drink more water, drink a litre right now, that kind of thing, which is great. And a really interesting point raised was that we can't all just drink water all the time, right? There's lots and lots of research going on in the analog world on food and variety and diet and everything. Not an awful lot on drink. This is raised by Karen, and she said, it's quite important to have a bit of flavour. What about coffee, squash, and let's say alcohol? It would be good to include some research on that. Yeah, research. So interesting. Alan raised with the coffee side. Maybe there's actually a power limit or power requirement on that as well, because kettles are running in the kilowatts. So everyone turn the lights off. Well, I need to make a cup of tea, which would be interesting. This kind of experimentation is quite cool to see if there's like a link to terrestrial applications. So Habitat Marte, for example, in their water recovery systems, actually applying it to sort of local communities to help with water scarcity in the sort of arid parts of Brazil, which is really, really great. Their reclaimed water use was exclusively for agriculture, so pretty much 100% of their grey water was used. And yeah, like I said, those innovations were applied to local communities, which is really good. Helps to build the profile of analog astronautics and say, hey, maybe some of this space stuff is actually useful on Earth anyway. ATC monitored their drinking water, but it wasn't exactly closed loop supply. They had sink water that wasn't monitored, and that would have to be boiled if you wanted to consume it. So the next morning, for example. They did watch how much water they bought ahead of time. So they bought bottles like we saw in Lunares, the big supply of bottled water, and yeah, monitored the crew intake. And basically the problem wasn't overusing it, it was underusing it, just like with Amadi, making sure people actually drank enough water rather than limiting the supply of drinking water. That was quite interesting, I thought, because I was expecting it to be the other way around. I was expecting people to be near running out of water rather than actually forcing people to drink more. On the topic of food, so A really interesting lesson learned from high seas is that somebody was sneaking food, hiding it. They found out quite quickly, but they didn't find the culprit until the day before they finished their mission, which is, that speaks hell to the team dynamics. It just sort of goes to show the importance of having your team cohesion in advance, which is, not an easy thing to achieve. So that was quite interesting. Also on the subject of food in high seas, they made comfort food a couple of times. So in high seas, their missions are a bit longer than standard, right? They're about a month, or this one was a month. And so around 2 times a week, they actually made comfort food. Because can you imagine eating just sort of super healthy salady food for a month straight? Even that sounds a bit difficult, personally. They also had allergies to contend with. So 3 people were non-dairy. They had allergies like the tree nut allergy, and they had a vegan as well. So controlling that, basically they had to cook 2 meals every meal, and cook for the allergies first, and then cook for themselves, for everyone else afterward. So being hyper aware of those dietary requirements is interesting. With ATC, the way they run is either you just choose ahead of time whether you're going to go multi-diet or everyone is vegetarian, which I thought was quite interesting because, likelihood is on Mars, we're not going to take cows and chickens and stuff with us because it's quite expensive. So we're all going to have to be vegans if we live on Mars. They didn't have any allergy difficulties for Celine's mission, but they did suffer from a lack of coffee. I genuinely took that down as a note. And yeah, so ATC controlled the sort of dietary requirements, but one lesson that was learned was that the calorific intake of each person wasn't monitored ahead of the mission. They had a sort of generic, this is a team supply for your week or 2-week mission, which is awkward if you've got, for example, like someone who is maybe a weightlifter who needs, twice the number of calories. And that experience actually happened. I'm not sure about weightlifter, but somebody who needed a higher calorie intake didn't achieve that. And so they had a very rough time of it with their diet. Whereas with Amity, it's completely on the opposite end of the spectrum. Nutritionists involved for every single person, calculated ahead of the mission, even down to their EVAs. You've got this many EVAs on this day, you're going to have more calories because it's hard work. And Karen said it's not a space walk, it's space work, which is a good phrase. As for the work split, they preferred with their duties for food to have somebody tell them, you're doing the cooking, you're doing the washing up, rather than having to decide as the crew. They wanted the mission control to tell them, which is quite interesting because I guess it's like rolling the dice instead of being like, oh, I hate the washing up, why do I have to do that today? So that was cool. Welfare, so I spoke around the Lunares, we all went on the tour and saw, using these natural soaps to avoid detergent in the grey water system. So that was a cool experience. High seas were limited to a 1-gallon bucket shower for their showering needs for welfare. ATC used baby wipes for their cleaning, so it's all about limiting their water usage. That was down to the crew apparently. So for high seas, they just had a unanimous vote to limit the clean water to drinking only. But there was a complaint around on the toilet side for using a urinal for women, which sounds like it was a bit of a difficult mission, to be honest, in the middle of the night, trying to use one of those. Yeah, so like I said, ATC, no running water for the shower, just a sink. Having one toilet for 6 crew, don't know if Lunares is the same, probably most of these are the same, just a single toilet, and you better really get close to your crewmates. Yeah, but they did have a separate room for hygiene. So as we said, using baby wipes for cleaning, at the very least, the shower and toilet don't necessarily need to be co-located because you just go into one of the stock rooms and wipe yourself down or something. Dry shampoo for the hair. Privacy was important apparently, and I've taken a note that ATC was a smelly habitat apparently. What else? We added new topics, so I'll come to those in a sec. So for cleanliness, hygiene or whatever, ATC was scheduled, everything was scheduled for cleaning their goods. So, you know, apparently for other missions, there were conflicts where the teams would leave the habitat in a mess, whereas for this particular mission, they were very scheduled and they kept it very tidy. So it's quite an important thing to have in advance of your missions. You want to make sure that you're maintaining the facility. Amity, Karen said that a good schedule was where no one has to eat alone. So, you know, where eating is typically a social thing where you all eat together, their schedule's down to 15-minute intervals, and a success was that people didn't eat alone, which is, you know, obviously is completely dependent on how much you're doing per mission. For Habitat Marte, there's toilets again, they're on a septic tank, but they're looking at improving the facility. As we can see, they're in constant improvement phase at the moment. And they're currently recycling the shower and sink water, just like Lunares. But they will look to improve the toilet loop as well. So hydroponics and aeroponics. Habitat Marte, obviously we just saw, we even got numbers here between 10 and 30% fed from their own production instead of supply, which is, you know, really impressive. They're still in their research phase. They're looking at all sorts of different systems. So they've got aquaponics, so they can eat the fish and the plants. They're also looking at a hydroponic facility in parallel, so they can test the utility of each system, which is cool. Like, how much water does this one use versus this one? What additives do you need, and so on. And in addition to that, as we heard, Habitat Marte have a good Martian analog regolith nearby in volcanic sand. So they're looking at also testing soil. So a third agriculture system to test in parallel, which is really good research. ATC apparently has a very, very small aquaponics facility with goldfish in it. I don't think you eat the goldfish. I think you just look after them. And after a year, it was functioning, but I didn't hear an awful lot more about sort of how much or anything like that. Finally, then we've just got these two new topics that we added, and maybe it's because I've had the wrong notes because I have repeated notes. We added energy. So with Habitat Marte, they're self-sustaining on their own solar panels. They are connected to the grid, but the majority of the time they actually send energy back, which is great, even from a financial perspective. They're self-sustaining, and the only money they pay is for the subscription to the service, not actually for any kilowatt hours used. The lava cave is not supplied with energy yet, but as we saw, they're in a feasibility study at the moment, looking at what their options are. They've got an app for monitoring their energy usage, and they are looking at a closed system for gas with the composting toilet, like I mentioned a minute ago. So, you know, closing that loop is something that's, you know, we probably want to do that with analog missions before we try it, let's say upstairs. Finally, then, psychology. We very briefly covered this, but actually this was led by Manuel asking about humans connecting with nature, and Karen suggested, you know, it is important. Maybe we need to start doing that through architecture instead of everything being square. You know, stuff being a bit more natural. And then of course, we said like relaxation tasks are important. And Karen mentioned the UVA facility at Habitat Marte being a nice place to go as well, probably in the sun. And that's what we got. So, I mean, yeah, good memory.
Danielle, do you want to be honest, so somebody can Sure, we can throw out the ideas, but we were kind of all there.
Yes.
So Rebecca, good.
Yes.
So you're all just telling me that.
Yeah, basically, I don't know what we'll be discussing, lots of topics really. So, but one that really calls our attention was that actually one of the crew members from Lunares that I think is the mission just a couple of days ago suggested that to be more water efficient. It's like a timer, you know, so every 4 seconds or something like that. You get a timer, so you have so many seconds that you can have water, you know, and monitor the amount of water you need, how many times you need to click that button to be able to shower properly. and he estimated that with 10 times you get more or less about waste about a liter, and that was plenty to have a proper shower, so to speak. So the thing is, the next step would be to implement that and make it kind of intelligence, everything, monitor and control and things like that. So actually, because some members of the group, for example, myself, I don't as much water that I don't know, a lady with long hair, for example, we can they can tell whether it's me or another crew member. And for example, if I don't need as much as another, I can pass it on, you know. So with the same amount of water, some people can get 2 showers. I mean, I one, for example, you know. That was very interesting. And we actually find out that, well, it's something that is overlooked. When I thought the purpose of this, like water is super important, no water management, but in some missions is kind of overlooked and it's not as efficient as it could be. So we're thinking tiny little things that are very easy to implement and can be done as of tomorrow, but for some reason they're not being implemented just yet. And one thing got to another to be more efficient, and we give a go how to optimize processes and energy consumption. And for example, we came to when it comes to physical exercise that we all must do, you know, to simulate, you know, the loss of bone mass or muscle mass, something like that. For example, in some places there are kind of machinery, you know, this kind of exercises like a treadmill that is plugged into the mains and consumes electricity. So we thought that we can, it's an easy thing to implement and substitute that by a bunch of rollers kind of system, you know, more mechanical kind of way. And then with a simple kind of dynamo or something like that, even generate, just know as to avoid consuming the energy, but even we can generate little, but something maybe to charge your phone or something like that. So that's cool as well. And one thing go to another, water, energy, and things like that. And then we talk about the washing machine and we assess the feasibility of implementing this kind of bicycle, you know. But frankly, there was some mechanical engineering in our thing, and kind of, you know, has this constraints about it because of it's not as efficient as it looks on paper because of the friction and other restrictions. And similarly, you need to keep a constant kind of pace, and it's very difficult because you need to be pedaling for a long period of time, and then obviously it's very tiring for one single person. So, and it's very difficult to keep a steady pace. So obviously, if another crew member is going to take over that, it's kind of, well, it's not as effective as it looks, but it's still looking into that. But obviously, at the same time, you don't want to have this the same problem in space because of due to lack of gravity, well, the friction works in a different way. And also about food production, what would be more feasible? I don't know who, but someone said, I think it was yes, Vero, was it Vero? No, I think someone suggested about the algae. Sorry about my pronunciation before, which is something that we've never looked before, at least at Astroland, and it's super interesting because it's easier than it looks, and also it has lots of benefits, not just as nutrients, but also when it comes to healthcare, medicine, things like that. So it has a lot of applications. And also one thing that, for example, I don't know if you all know, but at Astroland we have is an analog to a lava tube, which is in the north of Spain, inside a stunning, huge natural cavity, a cave basically. And there we have the problem of high levels of humidity. So that is a restriction when it comes to fogging and things like that. But taking that, I don't know, that's the stress into an opportunity is a paradise for growing fungi, you know. And one thing got to another, and this like now this kind of research into mycelium. So at the same time that you go mushroom fighting, you can also get mycelium to develop some materials that are strong for building things and so on. And from that, we move on to 3D printing and all the possibilities of making filament from bioplastic, from toilet waste, and things like that. And how can we use bacteria without using chemicals, but with insects or when cockroaches were mentioned and things like that. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else. Could you please tell me? Because it was a lot of things. But it was a very interesting discussion, and for sure some things we can implement, and definitely I go here lesson learned, and definitely we look at that line to the algae thing and so many other things like the dollar and stuff like that.
I think
I wouldn't like to forget. Sorry, yes.
No, you covered most of it.
Most of it.
Yeah, we were talking about
Yes.
ornamental plants.
Ornamental plants as well, of course, you know, for
Ornamental
example,
health, and then
gardening, that
music
kind of
also.
thing. Yeah, and we decided whether it can be 3D printed as well, because going to 3D printing have different types of filaments and materials that can be used, and obviously moving on to using bio material for the definitive will be a huge achievement, you know. So I think that's all. Yes, do you want to add anything like that? No? Well, thank you very much. It's been a great group as well.
So yeah, that more or less concludes it. Obviously, if you want to discuss more, you know, like this evening, it's free. So if you want to go clubbing, drinking, or catch some more questions, you can do. So yeah, I don't know if there's any other questions over there.
There is one question in the chat or something.
In the chat. Let's see what's popping up. So Karen has to go. It was great to see you, Karen. I think she left already. But yeah, so basically for tomorrow morning, normally I think we're supposed to start at 9:30. 9:30 is going to be on habitats. It's going to be led by Sam Ross online, if you prepared it, and Jack. And obviously we have so many space architects that I'm counting on you guys. Like you rock this. And yeah, so just connect on Zoom online. We also upload the recording of the visits. So if you cannot make it this afternoon, then you can check it later on. We'll let you know by email when it's available. And yeah, great. So congratulations on this first day. It's amazing to see you all. See you also online. And yeah, see you tonight and tomorrow. So, cool.
Who was the mechanic on the bicycle washing machine? I'm curious. I want to chat. No?
The bicycle washing
mechanical
machine.
engineer bicycle washing machine. No? I'm just curious.
Have a wonderful evening, Julio. Take care. See you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, Julio, can you let me?
Thanks, Eleanor.
Julio, can you make me a host quickly? Again.
Okay.